Coming up on show 754, Elon tweets, and it turns out the Cybertruck, well, it's a floater. Stick around, I'll tell you more. Plus, we're talking about a landmark study that definitively proves EVs are so much more cleaner than fossil cars. Teslas are getting even quicker. They've had their 0 to 60 times reduced, but I'll tell you why. The Powerwall gets updated and a new hot plug-in version of the VW Tiguan. And just how popular is that car? More popular than you realise. I'll give you the stats. This is EV News Daily. Good morning, good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is the show for what happened on Monday 20th of April. My name is Martyn Lee, and I go through every EV story, so you don't have to. Well, here in Europe, an electric car is responsible for almost 3 times less CO2 over its life cycle than a comparable petrol or diesel car. A landmark study today has proven. Yes, this is a CO2 study. Transport and Environment has published a corresponding calculation tool on their website, so you can even go online and play with the variables of this. According to electrive, let's play with the variables then, and let's say that you drive your EV in the worst possible place, Poland. Not that there's anything wrong with Poland, just the grid is very, well, what they call dirty. In other words, Poland is still burning a ton of coal for their electricity. Say that that EV is charged in Poland and the battery for that EV was made in China. Again, lots of coal use in China. Well, even then, that EV, over its lifetime, would use 22% less CO2 than it emit 22% less than a comparable fossil car. But what about the best case scenario? Play with those variables again. Say that you drive an EV and the battery for that EV was made in Sweden, where the grid to produce any kind of industry is particularly clean. And say that you charged it in Sweden as well. Well, in that case, the car is 80% less CO2 emitting over the lifetime of the vehicle compared to diesel and petrol. Well, the CO2 emissions of electric vehicles include the emissions from production. So as soon as you see, I saw on Twitter as well, those people that hadn't read the article, hadn't read the study, and just started to wheel out all the usual lines. I mean, I'm not even sure these are real people. The profiles look real, but I've been reading so much stuff lately on how literally just bot farms and Twitter farms where if you see something posted by something like Hootsuite or any of these bits of software that can post tweets, it's probably because there's one person behind hundreds of accounts. Anyway, lots of people started piling in. I saw on the comments, some people saying, oh yes, but you haven't equated for the making of the EV and the battery. Yes, they did. Yes, this is lifetime emissions, including production. And they use the IPCC data for this purpose. And then some people say, oh, well, you're not including the supply chains. Yes, they are. Yes, the entire supply chain was included. This is why I'm calling it a landmark study. And some people say, but to get the materials for EVs, well, mining materials, that's terrible for the earth. Therefore, EVs are very bad. No. This study, did it include the mining CO2 emissions? Yes, it did. In other words, far beyond the typical studies that you might see out there, that you see quoted that talk about cell production and being made into battery packs. This took it all the way back to mining. And actually, there's a few people who really are at the very pinnacle, the very top of this whole subject. And I saw them coming in on Twitter to say, this is good. This is very, very good research. So there you go. It's in-depth stuff. I'll pop a link in the show notes. The people who don't want to hear it won't hear it. The people that just want to argue for electric cars being bad, they're not going to hear stuff like this. But the science is clear. And CO2, at least in this study, I mean, that EVs are generally cleaner anyway, but this just dealt with CO2. Let's move on. How can a car get quicker overnight if it's a Tesla that you own, an S or an X? Well, they've just had to republish some numbers. The numbers were always there. The performance was always there, but not according to the website. Well, Tesla says the Model S performance just got quicker. The 0 to 60 time is now 2.3 seconds. And in case you're thinking, wasn't it that? Well, no, it was close. It was 2.4 seconds. But it does bring bragging rights for Tesla. The official figure of 2.3 now puts it into a bracket of cars, regardless of how they're powered and fueled, which is some rarefied air that they are breathing up there, according to Inside EVs. Cars that do 2.3 seconds 0 to 60 You are talking megabucks, hypercars. If Tesla manages to find a way to get another tenth of a second out of it, and remember that this, I talked about cheetah launch mode, where the car changes its stance because of the new air suspension on the Raven upgrade, S and X. And so because of that, they've been able to change launch mode a bit and get another tenth of a second. Now, if they can get another tenth and go 2.2 seconds, this is going to be the only car in the world, only road car in the world in that league of 2.2 seconds. And some people still think electric cars are milk floats. Well, let them think that. It'll be our little secret, yeah? I do have a friend in Miami who I went to go see, well, probably this time last year, to be fair, and he just got himself a brand new Tesla Model S, and we found somewhere private, and he did engage Ludicrous more than once, and yes, I did hang on. he was loving it. I was as well, but after 3 or 4, I had to say, you know what, no more launches, just give me a couple of minutes. It was man, it's something else. If you haven't experienced that, it's one of the experiences that I'm sure plenty of Tesla fans listening to this think it's old hat, but seriously, the first time you do get in a properly quick S or an X, because an X, I think, and you may disagree with me, by the way, I think even though the Model X is slower than the S, I think it feels quicker because it's such a massive hunk of a car. It's so big. It just shouldn't travel that fast, that quickly. Anyway, let's move on. Well, it's time for some Elon tweets right now. Elon Musk has been leaking further details on the Tesla Cybertruck. And, of course, on Twitter is where we learn about everything happening with pretty much all things Tesla. According to leasing.com, Elon confirmed the vehicle will have the heat pump that comes with the Model Y. Now, the Model Y was the very first Tesla they made to come with a heat pump, particularly important in areas and countries that are colder, because cold temperatures can really hit battery range, whether it's just because of the temperature effect on lithium-ion batteries, but also because of the heating in the cabin. So the heat pump and the new octo valve is clever technology to thermally manage the car. All new air suspension is coming on the Cybertruck as well, and he claimed it's a floater when he was asked on Twitter about the wading depth of a Tesla Cybertruck. And I'm not sure how many of these Cybertrucks are going to be doing too much wading, but there's definitely somebody that wants to do some hardcore off-roading. He replied that the Cybertruck will float for a while. What that means, nobody knows yet, and I'm sure that somebody, somewhere, will want to test out that theory. You just know that's what YouTube was built for. Somebody spending $50,000 on a truck and seeing how long it floats for. A bit like when mobile phones started to become waterproof. I remember watching some iPhone videos, because I think the first waterproof iPhones were, a couple of years ago, not rated for more than a certain depth or a certain amount of time, and so immediately, of course, people put them on a piece of string and dropped them to the bottom of the ocean for about 4 hours, and when they pulled them up, the thing didn't work, and they were shocked, but had millions of views and clicks. So I'm sure that will happen with the Cybertruck, as someone dunks it in some water and then realises that, well, maybe this wasn't the best idea. We'll see. Elon is nothing if not fantastic at keeping stories bubbling away in the press, and people like you and I still talking about them. After all of its factories were cleaned extensively in a period of closure, Volvo has announced it's reopening its manufacturing plants and the offices in Sweden following a shutdown over the last few weeks. According to Clean Technica, the layout in the meeting rooms and office spaces, even the restaurants, have all been adjusted now to allow for social distancing. The desks are placed appropriately, limiting the number of people allowed in any one room or restaurant at a time. And this is important because we have some great new EVs coming from Volvo. The XC40 Recharge is a fine EV that, if you like the Swedish styling, I would highly encourage you to stick that on your shortlist and do some research. Well, Tesla's Powerwall backup battery system for home just got smarter. In an update released a couple of days ago, the Powerwall can now work with Tesla's home charging stations to prioritise the energy needs during a power outage, according to CNET. Before the update, if you had a blackout, the Powerwall would kick in to supply power to the home and continue to charge the car, even if it was plugged in. And you might not want that. You might want the house to last as long as possible. Well, now the Powerwall will communicate with the Tesla charger, and they work together. If the Powerwall doesn't have enough energy stored to power the home's essential needs, like aircon in many hot places, the Powerwall can slow down and stop charging the Tesla and cut it off completely, and it'll prioritise the home. Good bit of software update, nice little over-the-air update this one. A reminder, Powerwall is 13.5 kilowatt hours, which is just about the biggest, and you can tie many of them together as well and daisy chain them up, just about the biggest home storage. It's a dream. It's definitely a dream of mine. I'm not sure it would ever pay me back, but we're here for the long... We just moved into this house. We're here for the long haul. Never say never. Look, the first job is still some PV on the roof. Well, VW is gearing up to reveal a heavily updated Tiguan SUV in the second half of this year. New teaser images showing the design. According to Car Magazine, the Tiguan is now the best-selling car, not for the brand, but for the group. And VW Group, well, it's quite big. More than 900,000 were built last year. And if you're thinking, really? Yeah, I did as well when I read that stat, the Tiguan. 900,000 of them made around the world last year. And now they're making it into a plug-in hybrid, arriving later this year as part of the facelifted rollout. It uses the MQB platform, and the Tiguan plug-in will have what is now common to anyone that is paying a bit of attention to VW Group's plug-in hybrids. You see these in the Skodas, you see these in the Passats, the 1.4-litre petrol engine, and a 13 kilowatt-hour battery pack, where they're targeting between 30 and 40 miles of zero-emissions pure electric range, according to a digital presentation which is being done by VW's Dr. Kai Philip, the project manager for electric powertrains at VW, saying that the target applied to all of VW's upcoming plug-in hybrids. They think that 30 to 40 miles or 50 to 70 kilometres, having surveyed their typical customers of VW cars, they think that's the sweet spot in terms of price and battery size and battery weight to carry it around as well. And that actually, per day, 30 to 40 miles is all that most people need. Look, I think that there is a full battery electric vehicle for you out there. If you are thinking, oh, do I go plug-in hybrid or full electric? There is a full electric out there for you. There's a price point everywhere to suit everyone. And I'll just contradict myself to say, if you are set on a plug-in hybrid or someone's just not ready to go full electric, and I don't think you need to worry about that these days, but just in case, this is smart thinking from VW, aiming for a battery size of that size, 30 to 40 miles, will cover off most people's needs and do it in pure electric. And then the next car they buy, the next one. So if someone's getting a car on finance for 2 or 3 years, the next one, well, that'll be full electric. I'm trying to be positive about plug-in hybrids, by the way. VW will also have the Golf. There's a Golf plug-in hybrid, and that is going to be called the E-hybrid. So that's the naming they're going to give to their Golf plug-in, the E-hybrid, and a version of that for the Arteon too. Well, let's talk about the Mini Cooper. Well, some say that taking a new Mini Cooper SE, the electric Mini, it's the shortest range pure electric vehicle in the US, on sale new today. And if you were to take it on a road trip from New Jersey to North Carolina, it wouldn't be the best idea. However, that's what Tom Mologney at Inside EVs decided to do for a couple of reasons. Tom says he was pleasantly surprised at the Mini's driving range. At highway speeds, about 50 miles in, he soon realised that he was going to be spacing the stops about 100 miles apart without any fear of running out of range. Even then, the EPA rated range for the Mini is 110 miles, but Tom finding he's getting more than 110. He said he was driving at about 70 miles an hour in 35 to 40 degree heat, and he had the heaters on. The vehicle quickly rises. When he did do his charging stops, it very quickly goes to 50 kilowatts, the charging limit, and holds the full charging rate until 75% state of charge, and it starts to slow down then. When the car reaches 90%, it's still taking about 19 kilowatts of power. That's not bad at all, says Tom. The 50 kilowatt charge speed, though, is a consequence of using the inside bits of the BMW i3. So BMW do have the new 5th generation electric powertrain for the iX3, but choosing not to use that new tech they have in their locker on the Mini. They're using the old tech from the BMW i3. Has that been detrimental, though? I worry about that, but by all sounds, I mean, look, it's a short-range EV. and you're not going to be getting the Mini for any kind of steep discounts. It's a stylish car, it's a sought-after car, but certainly all the videos I've seen and Tom's brilliant write-up in Inside EVs showing that it'll definitely do more than the 110 EPA miles. Also, as an aside, Tom stopped off to charge it at an Electrify America charging station, and they were doing some preventative maintenance, and they had the doors open, and it's the first time I've seen inside one. And so if you are anywhere as near or as nerdy as me, have a look at the article that I'll link through in the show notes, and you can see what the Electrify America chargers look like, the fast chargers. These are the 350 kilowatt ones, with the front off of them, and the electronics inside. Yeah, I told you it was nerdy. Sorry. Well, the final story today, the high-income households that bought 3 out of 4 new EVs in Norway last year show that the wealthiest people are buying EVs. And I know that you don't necessarily want to hear this, but this is, from Norway, what's happening. Those who earn more money are buying more electric cars compared to fossil fuels, says Norway Today. The more you earn, the more likely you are to choose an electric car. And we've all heard that criticism of EVs from people who say, well, I'd love to buy one, but they're too expensive. Well, looking at the kind of cars people buy in Norway and the money they earn, the people who earn a bit more are buying more EVs. Households with higher incomes last year bought 37% of all newly registered EVs and 21% of newly registered fossil cars. So there is some truth to that, what people say about you've got to be rich to buy an EV. I don't necessarily think that what they have in mind of being rich, of buying $100 grand Tesla with cash, is probably what they're imagining, and not the kind of wages that you and I earn, but there is some element of truth in that, and it's something that will be addressed, and hopefully soon, as more cheaper EVs come to the market. Well, let's talk about our question of the week this week, because I need your answers to read out on Sunday, please. So send me an email or a message on the YouTube channel with the answer to this question. Do you prefer to buy new or used EVs, and why? Email me hello@evnewsdaily.com. Leave a comment on the YouTube show. Thank you to 237 patrons of the podcast. These are individuals and companies who have chosen and continue to choose, and thank you for doing that, to fund this podcast and put it on the air, because it wouldn't without Patreon. And thank you to my premium partners, Phil Roberts of Electric Future, Brad Crosby, Avid Technology, Bright Smith for clean tech talent, Porsche of the Village Cincinnati, and Audi of Cincinnati East. Patreon, by the way, patreon.com, then / and just do EV News Daily, and you'll go straight to my page on there to see what it's all about. $5 or $10 a month, a couple of posh coffees that you're not getting at the minute on the drive-through or the takeaway, and you can support the message and the work that we do on this show, which does take many hours a day to put together. If you can leave a little comment and a review on Apple Podcasts, it helps grow the show. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow, and remember, there is no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.